The recent passing of Alex Zanardi prompted me to share this build of his 1993 Formula One ride. It's from his first full season of F1, and it was this car he reduced to rubble in a huge practice crash at Spa in 1993, thankfully without serious injury. I want to show you some of the steps and detail of the build, but just before we do, be aware there are many models available that honour Zanardi and the machines he raced. Mass-produced die-cast in various scales to limited edition multimedia specialty kits. I've only got a handful of Zanardi cars. This is a die-cast version of the Tamiya kit we're about to have a look at, but a very crude die-cast from Onyx. I've also got his iconic Chip Ganassi Racing Champ Car ride from '98 when he won the championship for a second time. Then he went back to Formula One in 1999 with Williams, but strangely there wasn't the spark that we saw in Champ Car. But there's much more around than this, covering both the open wheel era prior to him losing his legs and also the GT and touring cars he raced as an amputee. As far as Tamiya kits go, there's this Lotus obviously, but also with aftermarket decoration, the Jordan kit can be turned into a Zanardi car because he did 3 races with Eddie Jordan in 1991, including the Australian Grand Prix in Adelaide at the end of the season. But this video is about this model, the 107B, and like the Newman Haas IndyCar in my last video, was built over 10 years ago and is still holding up really well, except for the decoration that came on one of the 2 decal sheets. The sheet with the light green, yellow and white was brilliant to work with. It's a smooth, glossy film, flexible, settled down really well, and the white has not yellowed at all. The other sheet though, with the dark green and the red, totally different. The finish is not smooth, they were very brittle to work with and easily cracked. And as you can see, all the white writing has yellowed quite badly. I don't understand why Tamiya would include a sheet of inferior decoration when they are clearly capable of something much better, such as the other sheet. Anyway, this kit is typical of Tamiya's F1s of the time. Clean moulding, no flash, so minimal prep is needed. It's moulded in black and white plastic, includes rubber tyres, the 2 decal sheets, and easy to read instructions. Strangely, one of the rear tyres had this weird, what I thought was a major flaw in the sidewall. But when I started to sand it off, that entire curve piece fell away and required just a little bit of cleanup. The main body was painted with Tamiya TS26 white, sprayed straight out of the can with no primer. Rather than mask and spray the livery, I just went with the supplied decoration. And you can see here with the light reflecting the roughness of the dark green pieces. These are on the lower edges of the cockpit and lay over a few of the suspension pickup openings. For these, I cut into the decal film in each corner and used decal softener to make the edges curl back into the opening. Once everything's dry, a dab of semi-gloss black from the inside finishes it off and gives a bit of a carbon fibre look. The engine and cockpit assemblies are pretty straightforward. For this model, all those parts were brush painted with Tamiya acrylics, and flat red is used on the steering wheel and the seat. Rather than painting, I use metal foil for the heat shield on the back of the monocoque and also on the floor under the exhausts. The cockpit and the engine fit to the floor separately. I didn't use primer on the main body, but I did use it on some of the wing components, which you can see in the background, partly because I think decals adhere better to paint than they do to plastic. The wheels are one piece but 3 colours. The yellow band is kit decal. I masked off the centres to paint the rim edge silver, then the yellow decal hides the masking line between the black and the silver, and I think these turned out really well. The outer sides of the rear wing end plates were given a quick coat of white primer to ensure the yellow decals would not appear muddy from the black plastic underneath. The outside panels are masked here, ready to hit the interface and the lower wing element with semi-gloss black. While the model came together just as easily as other kits in the GP series, decal placement was a little bit of a nightmare. I started with the main pieces, working around the cockpit, fixing them one at a time. In hindsight, maybe I should have had a few on the go at once because you need to float some of the decals, some of those red pieces need to be manoeuvred so the green teardrop on the top fits properly, and you'll see here with mine, it's ended up a little tight. After decorating the tub, I fitted the engine cover and used the tub decals as a guide for aligning the ones that have to go on the engine cover. The big Castrol signage is one piece and has to be cut down the panel gap before the engine cover can come back off. The nose cone decal was a challenge, lots of softener and lots of time, but it ended up going down nicely. In hindsight, it should be applied before the front wing is attached. The very tip didn't get covered. You can see here the white primer is showing, so that was finished by hand with a brush. As I've mentioned, one of the decal sheets was poor quality, like old style decals, and this is the evidence of the green breaking apart, but it also happened to one of the large red areas on the engine cover. If I knew then what I know now, I'd have trimmed back the edges of the lighter green decals a little more heavily. They have a heavy ink build-up on the very edge, which is the darker lines you can see here. They're also a little oversized, so I could have been a bit more aggressive with the trimming prior to application. I should note too that there is no clear coat on this model and therefore no polishing. It is purely rattle can paint and decal film finish. A little trick I like to do with removable panels is to continue the colours around the edge of the panel, like you see here. This is done by hand painting, but sometimes there's a little excess decal film that can be softened and made to curl around the edge. I just reckon it gives a nicer finish when the covers are on, especially if the body is not a snug fit. The only scratch-built item was the aerial on top of the cockpit. Hitting a piece of leftover black sprue resulted in a more in-scale part than what was supplied in the kit. I used blue tack to hold the mirrors for painting and applied metal foil for the reflective lens. With the engine cover off, you can see there's plenty of scope to improve detail, but apart from the heat shields on the floor, this is all stock kit as per the instructions. All those years ago, there was never any question I was going to build this as the Zanardi version, but the kit can also build Johnny Herbert's number 12. The rear view looks a bit strange, but I think that's because for 1993, Formula One moved to narrower rear tyres, and this kit was originally a 1992 Lotus with fatter rubber. Cockpit detail and decals, the park green paint the instructions call for behind the windshield is not a match for Castrol green decals, but it's sort of hidden away from most angles, so not a big issue. This is the finish nose. The contour and curve in the front wing made applying the big yellow band that wraps around the leading edge rather time consuming, but again, the end result is good. Vents on the leading edge of the side pod intake are replicated by Decal. One big yellow decal covers the rear wing end plates. Softener encourages it to snuggle into the recesses, meaning the moulded detail of the wing adjusters becomes visible. If you're wanting to build your own Zanardi Lotus, this kit is long out of production, but it's not hard to find on the second-hand market, and I think it builds into a really nice-looking model. By all accounts, Alex Zanardi was a remarkable person, insanely passionate and positive about life, and a beaming example of human resilience and humility. Vale, Mr. Pineapple.